Good morning to you, Bruce. Just tell us,
Good morning.
did the weather worsen overnight? What's the update?
Well, no, it didn't worsen overnight. There wasn't a lot of rain overnight, and I'm standing here on the main bridge across the Singatoka River into Singatoka town, and I can tell you locals are telling me that the level of flooding has actually gone down overnight. We were expecting to have to get to the Provincial Administration Office by boat this morning, but in fact we can get there by car. But I can tell you, it certainly left a trail of devastation here. There's a lot of water on the ground, a lot of mud puddles, some of them actually the size of lakes. One or two shops have opened, service stations and convenience stores mainly, but most of the businesses here are still closed. From where I'm standing on the bridge across the Singatoka River, I can actually see the little rail bridge across the older bridge. It comes about halfway in the river and then it's just fallen down. And so there's a lot of debris, a lot of trees and logs built up against that. And I tell you what, this river looks like chocolate milk, and it's boiling away. Very, very dangerous. Quite a wide river at this point. And what they're concerned about is not necessarily just the level of the flooding, but also the speed at which the water is coming down from the hills, and that's causing a lot of damage as well.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about, Bruce. We're seeing some pictures where the water looks as though it's moving very, very quickly, and obviously a lot of water as well. Just tell us about the terrain that this water is in.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. Can you repeat that question?
I was just asking, we're seeing pictures of just the huge masses of water and some of the water moving very, very quickly. What about the terrain that this area of flooding has hit?
Well, if you look at a map of Vitu Levu, it's like a circle. Imagine it's a wheel. The Central Highlands are right in the middle. That's where all the rain is continuously falling, and the rivers are like the spokes of the wheel. They come out. The coastal plain is actually fairly flat, so when this water comes down off the hills, it's moving quite rapidly into these rivers, and that's what's causing the trouble. When it's hitting the coastal plain, because there's so much of it, it's simply rising up out of the banks and flooding across the whole of the more low-lying areas on the coast, and that's what's really causing the damage.
Bruce, what's the latest in terms of the numbers of people evacuated?
At the moment, look, it's very hard to really get a handle on it. As you can probably imagine, they're not really concentrating on getting the numbers exact. They're just trying to get people into the evacuation centres. It looks like 7,000 plus in evacuation centres, so 7,000 homeless at the moment. That doesn't necessarily mean that they've lost their homes. It just means that the homes they have are uninhabitable. And at the moment, the official death toll is 3. A lot of people here are expecting that to rise. When the waters go down, it's possible, and we have in the past, we've found bodies after that's happened. And
how have the local authorities responded?
Well, they're getting used to it by now, unfortunately. So, in fact, they've got their emergency disaster procedures down to a fine art. Everyone's pitching in and helping. But with the scale of this disaster, even the best organised efforts, they sort of quail on the faces of the scale of it. But the people that I've been speaking to have said they've never seen anything like this. 2009, there were particularly bad floods. But I've been speaking to people here who've never had their homes flooded in the past. One woman there, her mother had lived in her village for 54 years, never had a problem with floods. They awoke the other night to 2 feet of water in the house. So that gives you an idea of just the scale of this disaster.
And Bruce, what about the 1,300 Australians that are currently in Fiji?
Well, there's a lot of problems getting them to the international airport. There's a big backlog of tourists trying to get out, but of course, a lot of the bridges are down and the roads are in very bad condition, and you simply cannot get to the international airport in Nandi by road. And so what some of the resorts and hotels are doing is they're actually getting helicopters to get their guests to the airport. The problem is, even if you can get to the airport, there's a problem with actually planes landing and taking off. My understanding is the Fiji government have stopped incoming flights with tourists because they don't want to add to the backlog. So incoming flights are supposed to land empty and leave full. The question is, can they actually take off from the airport? Because there has been some flooding at the airport as well. But these things change day by day and even hour by hour. And one of the things that the tourists are not very sure of is they just don't necessarily know exactly what's happening. But information is at a premium, and no one really knows exactly what's going on. People are doing their best and playing it by ear, but it leads to understandable frustration.
Bruce Hill, thank you very much for the update.
My pleasure.